Dale switch, Don.
Hoy vamos a romper la cadena, matar la pena, soltar la maleta. Yo quiero bailar a lo loco, sentir un poco la alegría y esperanza. Esto funciona solo si te atreves. La fiesta no empieza hasta que yo llegue. ¿Cómo fue? 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 La riqueza la llevo mi piel, la fortaleza la llevo mi piel.
As you talk about patience and like share a little bit more about your journey, what I'm hearing at least is that like it took a while.
Yeah.
It wasn't this overnight thing.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, we've used this language a lot, that you felt called to music. You felt like it was your calling to do this. What do you have to say to somebody who feels like, you know, maybe I haven't heard my calling, I don't know what God calls us to? Like, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, but often there is this misunderstanding that people have where they feel like God only calls people to something like ministry or mission work. And while those are awesome things, you know, we've been around it our whole lives, not everybody's going to be called to ministry or missions, just like not everybody's going to be called to make Christian reggaeton music. Like, you probably don't want to hear me try and make that. Like, but that's your calling. So what advice do you have, if you want to share a little bit more on that, to somebody who is still trying to figure out their calling? Like, what do you say to somebody like who just, I don't know?
So here's one thing is that, you know, in the Bible, it tells us that each one of us plays a role in the body of the church. There's, I mean, literally, you know, we all play different roles, and it's important for us to realize, hey, not everyone's gonna necessarily be a missionary, the way we use that term, you know. Go out to an Asian country or something like that and, you know, be there for the rest of their lives, or be a pastor or be a, you know, anything like that. Like, not necessarily everybody's called to that, because we need people in every area of the world. We need people doing music that can reach other people and share Jesus with them. We need people in the fine arts. We need people in hospitals, being doctors, lawyers, just anything you can imagine. Like, God is calling somebody to go there and be that doctor, be that lawyer, or be that soccer player, or be that, like, literally anything. Because ultimately, I think our life is a ministry. Our life speaks to others, the way we live, the way we do everything, and our heart for Christ. That's going to impact people. And so it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what you do, like, God can use that. Literally anything.
Exactly.
And so yeah, please, like, just speaking to y'all, don't think that God only calls people to be pastors or to be in the church, and you know, because really you're limiting God. You're limiting God when you say that. It's like, oh, God can only use people who are doing this. God can only use pastors. God can only use missionaries, and that's just not true at all. God uses people in just any way imaginable that you can think of.
Like, I love how you change that focus for us, that it's not just like ministry isn't a thing that we're doing. Like, ministry is who we are. We're all called to minister using what we've already been given, the jobs that we're interested in, the circles of influence that we have. You know, you mentioned doctors and lawyers, like, they are doing ministry as long as they are doing their work and doing it out of an attitude of like, okay, I'm doing this because of my love for the Lord. And I think that's so important. But there is this misconception that exists within the church that if you are not, like, you know, going out and doing these quote unquote like pastoral things, church things, then you're not really doing it for the Lord like we understand it. But I think you can speak on this, because if somebody were to scroll through your Apple Music or your Spotify discography, they're going to see a lot of songs that are about God, that are worshipful in posture and nature. But then they're going to find songs about, you being from Honduras, or your girlfriend, or respecting women. Like, these are topics that aren't necessarily churchy per se. But tell me if I'm wrong, but you would still consider yourself a artist who is a believer, a Christian artist. So, like, what do you tell somebody who has that misconception that, like, if you're not strictly talking about God, if you're not strictly doing these things, then it's not faith work? What would you say?
I think one of the things is that, sometimes in the church we like to stay in this little Christian bubble. And while God does call a lot of people to to play a role specifically in the church, to be pastors, or to be deacons, or to just be, some kind of leadership role in the church. While he does call people to do that, we need people serving outside of the church as well, because there's so many lost people. And I mean, isn't that kind of what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to reach the lost people. People who don't know. Exactly. And so, that's so important to me. And I think a lot of times as a church, sometimes we can be very closed-minded to that, and think, you're out there being like the world. Like, no, we're out in the world. We're not of the world, but we're out in the world being that light, serving Jesus Christ in everything that we do. And that's in any job, any career, anything that you're doing, you can serve Christ. And so that's been the main thing for me. And repeat that question again, because I swear I had something else to say that I really want to say. Yeah,
you were hitting just about everything. You are a Christian and you do make Christian music, but sometimes, you might write about something that's not strictly like God related or like church related. So, like, how would you explain that to somebody who's like, oh no, everything you need to do needs to be like writing about God, talking about God? Like, I think there's some parallels there to what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's lots of people, there's a misconception that, like, if you're not mentioning the name of Jesus, like, in every song all the time, like, that can't be for God. That can't be, that can't be godly. And I mean, really though, the thing I would say is, like, even though maybe some of my songs, they might not be like, super, like, here's like scripture. I'm saying God.
It's not Hillsong, right?
It's not Hillsong, right? It's not something like that. But nonetheless, like, if you really listen to it, I mean, my faith influences everything I write. Everything that I write, all the songs that I make, like, they're influenced by my relationship with God. And so you'll see a lot of these songs that are maybe more subtle. Maybe the messages are a little bit more subtle. But when you look at it, I mean, first of all, it's always clean. It's always clean. And then another thing is, like, just kind of the themes that I talk about, like, and you see, like, the biblical principles like presented in those songs still. So take, for example, like, in a lot of my songs, I talk about having the importance of a healthy relationship with, for example, with my girlfriend. And having a God-centered relationship. And so that's, like, one thing. And just in general, like, the respect for women, and a lot of the oppression sometimes that they face. Like, I cover those kind of themes a lot of times. And while I might not be pointing to, a bunch of scripture, and saying, like, God, Jesus, like, it's very evident to whoever's listening, like, hey, this is not like this music. This is not like, the things he's saying, like, I mean, ultimately, like, the biblical principles are there. And it really, if anything, like, imagine, like, so my music really is not, I don't see my music as necessarily, like, strictly for Christians, really. Because ultimately what I feel called to do, what God has called me to do, is to reach a more lost audience, an audience that does not know him at all, who maybe just weren't even raised in the church or anything like that, don't have any kind of connection with God or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so with that music, you know, they can listen to it and be like, hey, this sounds dope. Like, I can play this with my friends. This is cool. But then you really listen to it, you're like, hey, what this guy is saying, like, what, that song's clean.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it.
Yeah.
And then he's talking about respecting women. He's talking about, you know, he's never promoting alcohol in his songs, and you know, things like that. It's those little things. They start getting those people to just like kind of question things and be like, hey, let me go a little bit deeper into what he's saying. And you know, that just, it opens doors.
I think that's so important, because I want to connect the dots here, because I think it lines up perfectly with what we've been talking about this week. That because of your faith in God, you are creating this art that is not exclusively just for this church bubble, but can reach an outside audience. So in a way, you are sent out into this culture and this world. And there's a lot of parallels to that, to what we've been talking about with Isaiah, where, you know, God is asking, who am I going to send? And Isaiah says, here am I, like, send me. He's going out into this world. He's not just staying there, like, in the temple, but he's going out to reach people with this message. So, I think it's awesome that you are considering it in that way, that you are, like, going out and you are reaching people with this music. And that's something I want to encourage our students to do as well, is that they are sent into their communities. They already have circles of influence that they can be sent into. All it takes, though, is this opportunity for them to say, like, here am I, to like actually make that decision and be serious about it. So there's two things I want you to share about. Was there a moment where you said, okay, God, like, here am I, I'm gonna try and make it in this music thing? That's the first thing.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, for me, like I said, you know, when I felt God calling me, it was at an earlier age. It was at 12. I just remember for a whole month, I was just, every night I was praying just for a long time and just reading the word because I was really feeling like there was something tugging at me that was like, hey, this music thing, like, you got to take this serious. Like, you know, this is ultimately what God's gonna use your talent in music and use that to minister to other people, to reach other people who need to hear about Jesus. And so, you know, after that whole month of just praying and just really listening to God's voice, you know, I finally heard him call me, and he was like, I want you to do music. That's my calling for you. I want you to do music, but in a different way, because I'm going to use you to reach a lost audience outside of this church bubble, this Christian bubble. I want you to reach people who do not know my name, people who do not have a relationship with me, people who have not accepted me in their lives. And so, you know, I've been faithful to that calling ever since. And so while to some people it may seem a little strange, maybe something they're not familiar with, like it's crazy to see the doors God has opened, the people already that God has impacted through the music that I'm making, through the life that I'm living. And so, that's kind of where that calling came from. And ever since, you know, I've just tried to be obedient, patient, of course, like I said, and just faithful to God.
You mentioned, before we get into the second question, that some people don't get it. And chances are our students are going to be doing things that maybe their friends won't always understand. Like, why are you doing it that way? Why are you choosing to do that? Like, did you have people who were like, what are you doing? Like, what is reggaeton? What do you, like, why are you doing this? Like, you know, there's not a lot of money in music. People say it takes a long time. You have some doubters along the way.
Definitely. You know, a lot of it during high school when I started taking music more seriously and started, you know, I had more of the equipment for it. You know, had a little bit more resources. You know, I had people that just kind of saw it. They're like, oh, that's cute. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They're like, oh, that's cute. Like, you know, he's just going to kind of do his thing here in town and just, you know, it'll be a hobby. It'll be a side thing. That's not going to be like later on like his, you know, career, like, you know, doing a full-time thing, music. But you know, even though there was a lot of that, and sometimes it made me question things. You know, gradually, like, God was confirming things for me. He was opening doors, and I was realizing, hey, I have to move. I have to move forward. God is calling me to. He's giving me this opportunity. He's giving me that opportunity, and I need to be obedient to Him and to what He's telling me to do. And so He's just opened doors because, you know, if you're faithful to God, He will open doors for you. They're there for you to. That opportunity is there for you to take, yeah, you know, like I said, He'll stay faithful to whatever He's promised you. You know, He's faithful to His promise.
You mentioned looking out for like confirmations. Like I think it's so important to celebrate what God's doing in our lives and to be looking for those open doors and to like kind of sit in that moment where like, all right, like we're doing what we're called to do. I'm feeling good in this, and I want to encourage our students like to be looking out for those moments where you're just like, all right, things are going well. Like this is awesome. So. This is your chance. You know, you've been humble, but flex on us for a little bit.
Well, hold on. I actually, off of what you were saying, there's something I really want to share.
Yeah, go for it.
Because, so like I said, I was doing English music before, right? And I really didn't get into the Spanish music until like a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago, something like that. And it's crazy because I remember, so I was in Belize, and I was a senior in high school. I was about to finish my school year. So we were there during spring break for a little week-long mission trip. And I remember we were doing like this thing for the seniors. There were like 3 seniors on the trip. I was one of them. And we'd put like the senior in the middle. And we just kind of go around the circle. People would talk about things that they admired, things that they saw, like how God was working through us, and just everything like that. And so I remember we were working with a ministry called Praying Pelican Ministry. And 2 of the people there, they were actually the local Belizeans. They lived there. And so when it came around to me and they had something to say, they just talked to me in Spanish. So this is a super cool moment because no one else around me understands what they're saying. It's just me and them.
Okay.
And so when they were talking to me, they were saying, we've really been praying about this, and God has revealed to us that He's going to use you with your music in the Latino community, specifically in Honduras. And, I'm thinking like, awesome, but I literally don't make Spanish music. I make English music. And I wasn't thinking anytime soon I'm going to be making Spanish music. I was not thinking that. But it's crazy because I look back at that now. And that was one of those moments where God was confirming His calling that He gave me. Because it was that same year, a few months later, I decided to drop El Coche. That was my first Spanish single.
Yeah.
And when I dropped that, God opened so many doors. And I was nervous about it because I'm thinking like, I'll put it out just because it'll probably be trash. People probably won't really care about it. And man, God just opened so many doors. And from there, that was confirmation for me.
Yeah.
Because, I heard it from them and God was really speaking through them. And it's crazy because even though I didn't see it myself, God made a promise and He's going to fulfill that promise. Yeah. And so just those moments of confirmation, I think that's one of the things that just helps me overcome doubt.
Yeah.
It's that and just learning to be patient because a lot of times you will still, because we're human, there's times where I still go through doubt and I'm like, I know I'm at this point. I don't feel like, anything more is going to happen. I don't feel like God is moving through, through what I'm doing in music and stuff like that. But nah. He's going to fulfill this promise. And so it's been awesome, just those moments of confirmation.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, I would just advise, like, just every one of y'all, like, pay attention to what's going on around you, because God will speak in ways that a lot of times we don't really think of. And, He spoke through those, through those the local Belizeans in the Praying Pelican Ministry that were talking to me. Yeah. He spoke through them and confirmed this calling that He had given me. And it's just, man, I cherish those moments because it's just a reminder of God's faithfulness.
Yeah.
And how we can't mess up His plan.
Yeah. No, that leads perfectly into what we were talking about. Like, honestly, you answered the question I was about to ask. Was there a moment like where you felt so confirmed in what you were doing where you're like, all right, this is working? So you have been playing it a little bit humble, but we're going to give you an opportunity now. Like, was there a moment? Was it like a certain concert or a certain number of streams or meeting somebody for the first time where you felt like, okay, God, like I'm really out here doing this? So share, what are some fun moments in your career so far?
There's been some pretty awesome moments. One of them was I had the chance to go to Miami. They were doing Expo Elite, which is basically like the biggest like Latino like Christian convention that they have in the U.S. And so I got an opportunity to open for Social Club along with What Up RG.
Wow.
And Tommy Royale was there as well. And that was just an awesome opportunity. I just love performing in general. I mean, it's just a passion of mine. I love just getting in front of an audience and just sharing my passion, my gift with them that God has given me. But that was definitely one of those moments. And then another one for me, I would say, I had a chance to go to the Reach Records studio one time. It was Kardik Drums was there. So this was the first time I actually met Kardik in person.
Okay.
And for those who don't know, that's the label I'm signed to now is No Apologies, which is founded by Kardik. So all the music I'm putting out now, it's along with Kardik. We're all working on this together. But so him and RG we're doing a studio session, and they were looking for another artist on one of the songs they were working on at the moment. This was a couple years back, and so Kardik hit me up. He's like, "Hey, like me and RG, like we want you on the song, blah blah." And I was like, man, that's crazy because I'm actually coming to Atlanta that same day.
Wow, look at God.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like that was not planned at all. It just, that opportunity came up, and so I took it. And that was an awesome moment, just getting to meet them. And also just realizing, like, man, artists, I mean, they're humans. They're just like us. The people that I listen to, who I'm the musicians I'm a fan of, that I just love listening to their music and everything, like, they're just like me. Yeah. Like we're all the same, you know what I'm saying? And that was just an awesome moment. They're very genuine people. And it was an awesome experience, humbling experience, because it was a dream of mine, to going to the Reach studio. I did not expect that coming for me. And that was an awesome time. Definitely cherished that moment. And unfortunately, LeCurt was not in there. But
hey, that must have been crazy though, being in the same room that Cray and KB, Andy Mineo, all these legends have recorded music out of, and to have a song like you have a song that was released like through Reach Records and the 116 and kind of that Spanish project they did. So that's awesome. So you guys have heard it here. This guy Don Ryvcko has done some awesome things. It's been awesome just hearing a little bit about your journey, how God has followed you through and you've been faithful to it, to accepting his calling. It's so cool. I think about like the fact that like if your parents would have never been missionaries, you would have never been in Honduras, you would have never learned how to speak Spanish, you would have never had this opportunity to start creating music in Spanish for this audience that doesn't have a lot of music that is clean and God glorifying. And like that'll preach. Like if you're looking for kind of confirmation that like if you accept God's calling, things will work out. Like you said, like that's proof enough.
We can't mess it up. We can't mess up God's plan. And I think that's just beautiful. We're fully dependent on God. I think it's just beautiful.
Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us and sharing. Before we go, 2 things that we're going to ask. Number 1, it's not always glitz and glamour when you are performing and having a good time.
It's not.
Share with us. Is there an embarrassing moment? Something that's happened where it's like, oh man, like come on, I'm out here, I'm releasing music, but this is happening. I'm tripping on stage. Somebody doesn't recognize me.
There's been a few moments. I think one that it just sucked. Maybe it wasn't the most embarrassing moment, but it sucked. So I was having an album release party. Okay. And so we were doing this big concert. I mean, like we rented out, like we were going all out. And we had it all set up. So I had somebody, one of my friends, they opened the concert, so they did a few of their songs. It was going great. People were really into it. And then when my set starts on the very first song, boom, the speakers, the fuse blows out. And we're over there for like 30 minutes trying to figure this out. And we're at the point we're thinking like, crap, are we gonna have to are we gonna have to go acoustic? With
Yeah,
rap?
that'll kill the vibe.
Yeah, and so it was like, oh man, like I don't know what we're gonna do, and we saw a few people starting to leave, and it was like, but you know, thankfully, in time, we got it fixed. We had to lower the volume, a little bit, but we got through that concert and it was fun. Everybody had fun, but that was it just goes to show, like, man, anything can happen.
Yeah, there's gonna be bumps along the way.
Definitely.
When you're pursuing God's calling, things might not always go the way that you think they will. But that night worked out.
It worked out.
And things work out. That's what we want to encourage you with. So last thing, people want to follow you, keep up with you, bump your music, tell their friends. Where can they follow you? Where can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm Don Ryvcko. So like I said at the beginning, it's DonRyvcko. It's not Don Ryvcko.
Not Don Ryvcko.
Over that. But you can just follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, any of those platforms. I don't use TikTok, but you know, it's
use his songs on TikTok. Help him blow up.
But you can just follow me, Don Ryvcko. And all those social media platforms, and on Spotify, Apple Music, anything that you listen to music on, like I said, Don Ryvcko, DonRyvcko.
All right, thanks, Don. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hey guys, we will see you later. Hope hearing from Don has been encouraging. Make sure you give him a follow. Make sure you listen to his music. We appreciate him taking the time to come out and share with us. We'll see you guys later.
Piel.